Today we're going to continue our lesson on domain and range. This time we're going to be focusing on continuous data. So go ahead and make a circle around this continuous data so you will see it on your notes. Continuous data will be when we have our points are connected by a line. That means that any value on that line makes our situation true. Time, every single millisecond would be counted, so time is always a continuous piece of data. Temperature, every single temperature in between the temperatures you're looking at, all of that is actual data. The weight of something, as something gets heavier and heavier, every single little piece of weight added to it would be part of the solution. So that's what continuous data means. It has nothing to do with going on forever. What it has to do is between 2 points, every single piece of data could be an option. Okay, so let's look at some of these examples. One would be the cost of tickets for a Ranger baseball game. Well, if you think about it, we can count the number of tickets. So if the tickets are $10 a piece and we buy 4 tickets, we've paid $40. If we buy 3 tickets, we've paid $30. We're not going to pay $32.86597. So that one is considered discrete. Okay, your weight on the moon versus your weight on Earth. We're dealing with weight. Every single little bitty ounce or less, all of that can be counted. That is going to be continuous. Okay, again, we're going to cut out the height of children because there's an argument both ways for that. Okay, now we have a table. We got 4 separate points. It's not talking about any other points, so that's still discrete. Here we have the continuous line, the 2 points connected by a line, and our separate points that are discrete. Yes, I'm speeding through some of these because we did them in our last one. Okay, we're going to skip the bottom 2, and let's get right into the meat of this, which is domain and range for a continuous function. So I'm going to tell you a little story. It's a story about Dolar the robot. So my friend, a couple of years ago, she got married an anesthesiologist. Made tons and tons and tons of money. And so they went, when they got married, and moved into a great big house, more like a mansion. Had 10 bedrooms, it had 12 bathrooms, it had 4 stories. This thing was big. And she realized she couldn't clean this whole house on her own. It wasn't physically possible. So she did some research, and she went to her husband and said, I have found that we can buy a customized robot that will help me with all the house cleaning, and it's less expensive than hiring someone to come in and help me clean the house. So he agreed, and they bought this robot called Dolar the robot. And every day, Dolar would clean the house in the exact same way. She would clean the house from left to right, always from left to right, and she would start on the bottom floor, and then she would go from the bottom floor to the top floor. So every day, Dolar cleaned the house left to right and bottom to top. So that's what we're going to use as our way to remember domain and range. So if you look at this, Dolar, for domain, cleaned the house left to right. So our domain, we always read left to right. And then our range, the robot, is bottom to top. So we will read our range bottom to top. So let's just practice on domain. And what I want you to do is to get in the habit of drawing a line when you're looking at domain. We want to draw a line at the far left. So I'm going to draw a line at the far left, and I'm going to write left. And I'm going to draw another line at the far right, and say right. And then my domain is written using the far left number, which is -2, and the far right number, which is 3. And since we're dealing with domain, we learned yesterday that domain is always our x value. The only other thing that we really have to deal with is our open circle and our closed circle. Notice how on the left here we have a solid closed circle, and on the right we have an open circle. So a solid closed circle, let's make sure that's good and solid, that is going to be less than or equal to. And an open circle just means less than. So to finish this up, our left has a solid circle, so it's going to be less than or equal to, and our right has an open circle, meaning it's not included. It's just less than. Okay, let's do number 9. Again, we're going to start out and we're going to draw our line on the left. We're going to write left and our line on the right. And I know right now you're looking at it going, well, I can tell my left from my right. But when we start doing bottom and top, the lines get very confusing. So get in the habit right now, while it's still easy, draw your line on the left, right, left. Draw your line on the right, right, right. Okay, so we have -4 on the left, we have 7 on the right, and we're dealing with domain. So we have an X in the middle. Okay, our left circle is open, so we're going to do less than. Our right circle is closed, less than or equal to. Okay, let's do one more. Draw our line, right, left. Now, can I draw a line here? I have an arrow. If I have an arrow, I can't draw a line. I can't put a boundary on it. So instead of drawing a line, I'm just going to put infinity for the right. That way I know that my right goes on forever. It has an arrow. Okay, so my left is going to be -5. My right is infinity. I'm still dealing with domain. My left is a closed circle, so that's less than or equal to. And can you ever reach infinity? Well, you can't. So it's just going to be a less than sign. Okay, so let's practice a couple of these. So on number 11, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw my line on the left, and I'm going to draw my line on the right. I'm going to write left, and I'm going to write right. Okay, so my number on the left is -3. Looks like I've kind of gotten in the way, -3. My number on the right is +3. I'm still dealing with domain, so that's an X. My left number is an open circle, so that's just a less than. And my right is a closed circle, so less than or equal to. And that's my domain. Okay, on number 12, I'm going to draw my line on the left. And on the right, I'm going to write left on here. On the right, I can't draw a line. I have arrows. So on my right, I'm just going to put infinity. So my left number is -2. My right number is infinity. I'm dealing with domain. My left number, I don't have a circle. What do I do? Well, I have a solid line. A solid line is the same as a solid circle. So it's going to be less than or equal to. And I can never reach infinity, so it's less than. Okay, and number 13. When I try and draw my line on the left, can I? No, I can't, because I got an arrow. So my left is going to be infinity. I've got the same problem on the right, so my right is also infinity. So since it goes from infinity to infinity, my answer is infinity, or as we learned the other day, all real numbers. So they could either write it as infinity, or they could just say all real numbers. All right, so let's talk about range. Domain was left to right. Dolar, domain was left to right. The robot, range. Range we're going to read bottom to top. So let's just go ahead and practice some of these. We draw our line at the bottom, and we write bottom. And we draw our line at the top, and we write top. I'm going to bring this in a little bit because I can't read the numbers. Okay, so there's my bottom and my top. Looks like my bottom is at -4. My top is at 5. This time I'm dealing with range. Range is a Y. My bottom circle is solid, so less than or equal to, and my top circle is solid, so less than or equal to. Okay, let's do the next one. I'm going to draw my line at the bottom and write bottom. Draw my line at the top and write top. I'll do this in red. My bottom line number is -1. My top number is 7. I'm dealing with range, so it's a Y. My bottom is solid, so less than or equal to. My top is open. And now let's do our last one. At the bottom, I try and draw a line, but it's an arrow, so my bottom is infinity. My top, draw my line. So at the bottom, I've got infinity. At the top, I've got 3. I'm dealing with my range, which is Y. I can never reach infinity. And at the top, I've got a solid, so it's less than or equal to. So let's just practice finding the range. When it's range, we're going bottom to top. So I'm going to draw my bottom line. I'm going to draw and write bottom. I'm going to draw my top line and write top. Okay, so my bottom number is -3. My top number is +3, and I'm dealing with range. My bottom number is a solid, less than or equal to. My top number is an open circle, just plain old less than. And then our last example, I try to draw my line on the bottom, and I notice that I've got infinity. And I try to draw my line on the top, but again, I've got infinity. So my answer is infinity, or all real numbers. Okay, and very quickly, the last thing that we're going to do is just talk about whether a function is a linear function or not. And the big word that everybody forgets or doesn't understand is linear. So I want you to look at linear and notice that linear has the word line in it. Linear means line. So when we're looking for a linear function, we're looking for a function that makes a line. So when we're looking at this, we are looking for, has to be x to 1 power, not x squared. So x to 1 power is linear. X squared is nonlinear. Okay, the biggest thing you need to know about a linear function is that it has a constant rate of change. So let's put that in there. Constant rate of change. And if it's nonlinear, then it's not got a constant rate of change. So let's look at a couple of these pictures. Number 1. Does number 1 look like a straight line to you? No, it's curved. So not linear. Number 2. We look at this. This is a straight line, so it's linear. And then if we look at number 3, what we're looking for is a constant rate of change. So here on the bottom, we're changing by 7, then we're changing by 11, then we're changing by 15, yet up here, every single time we're changing by 2. we have to have it constant on both the top and the bottom to be linear. So this guy is not linear. Okay, if you have any more questions on domain and range or linear, be sure to come into tutoring and get more help.